Very quickly, just to sort of open it up, game number 11 for us. When you look at where we're at right now as a football program this season, 2015, we got things at least in place in terms to control our own destiny a little bit. That's where we needed to be coming into this football game a long time ago. It's not perfect, 9-1, but at least we're in control of our opportunities. Ohio State, national champions last year, and I think they were the best football team in the nation, and I said that coming into that last game that they played. I think they have an outstanding group of players. Got great offensive players, great skill. I think you guys all know who those players are. Great defensive players. Special teams are excellent. Very well coached. If you look at Ohio State, and look at what they've been able to accomplish since 2012, I counted them up. I think they're 48-3, which is an amazing statistic. And I think they get there because I think they understand who they are. They execute. They don't get too mixed up. They execute, and they're extremely successful because of those aspects. Fundamental football. Want to run the ball, exploit you with the pass, make you pay down the field, hit you with the deep ball. Special teams are excellent, as I said. Defensively is attacking, and if you look at them statistically across the board, you'll see that they're very near the top in the Big Ten in almost every statistic. So it'll be a great challenge for us as we go down there. I'll just take some questions. We'll go from there.
Mark, when you look at them offensively, the one thing that seems to be different is, pass protection maybe up front they haven't been as good as they hoped this year. What do you see this year compared to last year in that area?
Well, they have 4 returning starters on their offensive line. Pass protection, there's a lot that goes into it relative to not just what's going on up front, but your running backs, running with your running backs, the timing with your offense, with your quarterback, obviously, your routes down the field. They get pressure. I think they get a lot of people, much like we've gotten, people taking their best shots at them. And sometimes, they're creating different things that maybe they have not seen or things of that nature. So, players make plays and, things happen out there.
Mark, you had a chance to see Connor throw much this week. How are you handling kind of monitoring?
Yeah, we don't talk about injuries, and today's our first practice, so.
Are you still at a 9.5 out of 10 on
I'm at a 9.5.
And then just in that case, you've talked about what he's meant to the program and kind of his legacy here. How important is this game for him as kind of a statement of I guess, what he can do?
Well, I don't think there's that kind of pressure that needs to be put on Connor Cook. I think he's established himself here as one of the greatest quarterbacks, if not maybe the greatest quarterback, certainly one of them in the history here. He's won more games than any other quarterback. He's played well on a big stage. He's won a Rose Bowl and been the MVP. He's won a Big Ten championship game and been the MVP. He's played extremely well across the board throughout his career here. So I don't think it's fair to define this one game, to say this one game will define him. I think this is another opportunity to establish his legacy. And I think he'll play well. He's always played well on a big stage, and I think he'll have confidence to play well. But, it's a team game, so he needs to be, everybody else needs to be doing their job as well, and he needs to do his as well.
Mark, I think in last year's game they did a good job controlling your defensive line, but in talking to them yesterday, a lot of praise for the defensive line. Malik McDowell's name came up a lot. How important is that unit in this game this week?
Well, I think this game is usually won, probably won in a couple ways. Turnovers. Obviously, any game's turnovers are a huge deal, and then you got to win it up front. I think they promote toughness on their football team, defensively, offensively, in all areas, but especially up front. And then I think we do the same here. But I don't think there's any secret that they want to run the football, and we do too, and stay balanced along with that. And then they need to stop the run and pressure the quarterback, and that's who they are as a defense as well. So the game sort of becomes dependent on those guys up front winning. And there's all different kind of ways to win up front, whether it's, linebackers are involved and things of that nature, and support from the secondary, all these different aspects.
Mark, when you talk about controlling your own destiny, with all the craziness that's gone on in college football, do you still feel like that includes every aspect that you got, all the goals, including the playoff, and is that something you still talk about with your team?
Absolutely. All the goals are right in front of us. I mean, we're playing the number 2 team in the nation, the defending national champions. So our goals are in front of us in terms of if we can, we at least have an opportunity to control our own situation, and that's all you can ask. We're going to the last 2 weeks of the season. There's basically a week and a half left, or a week and 4 days left in the regular season, and the object is to get to the championship game. So the first goal that we have to accomplish is to win the East. And I know that if we win the next 2 games, we win the East. So that's the only thing that we can control right now. And then beyond that, you take the next step. And the next step is to win an outright Big Ten championship. And then you try and take the next step. So you have to go in order, I think, to get to where we want to go.
Mark, looking at the secondary, Hicks back in at cornerback and Cox and Nicholson back at safety, was that something you saw last Saturday, or did you just want more experience on the field?
I think we can go a number of different directions there, and we'll look and see how people practice throughout the week and make a determination on who's going where in the game. I also think that they're a no-huddle offense, and we're going to play our guys, so you're going to see different guys rolling in there. So I think one of the most important things is that we tackle well and stay fresh and cover and play the ball down the field. So we've got to be able to do those things and do them well in the perimeter, in the secondary.
Coach, we've talked about it before, but you're now 5-1 against top 10 teams. What is it about your team? That's a great record. They get up for these games. Obviously, it's a big deal, but what is it about their mentality that gets them to that record?
Well, I think we can play. I think we have the talent to play with the top teams in the country. I do. I believe that. And I do think our guys get motivated for it. And this is another challenge. But I also think our guys respect who they're playing against every single time. They respect their opponents, and we prepare very, very hard for it. But we've got good players. We have to play consistently. I don't think that we have yet to put our best game in front of us and play our best game where we're hitting on all cylinders. We played close in a couple games to that, but we've got to play our best football game this Saturday if we're going to be successful. I truly believe that. But I do think I think that we're very, very capable.
Mark, you discussed talking about how you have a little more experience coming up in the secondary, and now, of course, Ezekiel Elliott, a big home run threat for the Buckeyes, and you talked about winning the battle up front. So how big is it for you to maybe try to have the defense force the game plan onto J.T. Barrett's shoulders to try and limit the effectiveness of Elliott and make them throw to try to beat you guys?
Well, you got to stop them on first down first. You got to make them one-dimensional if you're going to do that. So you got to control the line of scrimmage, as we said earlier, and I think that obviously if you can do that, you can get them in long yardage situations. Usually, good things begin to happen, regardless of what team, what quarterback. If you get them in enough long yardage situations, good things happen. So we've got to win up front. We've got to stop the run initially and be able to play the big play-action passes as well. Explosive plays, limit explosive plays.
Mark, I'm curious on your take on intangibles in a game like this. Ohio State's the defending national champion. We talked about the big games last year, Oregon, Ohio State, and having opportunities this year for redemption. You got one. Have you talked with your team about those types of motivating factors?
I don't talk to our football team about redemption. I talk to them about getting ready for this year. What's happened in the past has happened in the past. We can't change that. But I always want them looking forward. I think it's important we look forward and be able to accomplish the goals that we're trying to get to. I thought last year, had we won either one of those games or probably the last one, had we won that game, good things were possible for this football team. I don't think there's any question about that, or even greater things were. But we didn't win, so there were reasons why we didn't win. We need to correct those reasons and be able to move forward, and that's what we're going to try and do. As far as everybody's got a take on how they get themselves ready for a football game. I don't really care how they get themselves ready, but they just need to be ready. They need to be ready to deliver, and they need to deliver some adversity, create it, but also take it too. We've got to be ready on both ends of the stick to be able to dish it out and take it to, and then keep coming.
Mark, you've had some instant classics with this team, especially since you've been here and Urban's been there. What's that about? What do these two teams bring that out in each other?
I don't know. We got a lot of guys from Ohio on our football team, and so that makes it a little bit personal. So not that I don't think it makes it. I just think they want to play well when they go down to Ohio State. I think they want to play well, and so it's not going down there in any kind of disrespect. They just want to play well. They want to measure up to their family and their friends because that's where they're from. And I don't care if you're from another state. That's when you play that particular state. When we played Georgia, it was Doc Denard and a couple other guys at Keith Mumford. That was a very important game for them to play well in. So it's just a matter of fact. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's that I'm from there. Maybe it's the fact that we have a lot of coaches from there, that we've coached there, or that I've coached there. So there's some different dynamics there wrapped up that speaks to preparation, speaks to the amount of preparation that we're going to put forth in terms of off-season studies and things of that nature, in the hopes of playing well. Yeah, they're big games. They're big games because because I think that they were an established program for quite some time. They've been an established program, and so you get yourself ready to play.
Coach, how similar are these teams from a year ago in terms of when we're looking at X's and O's and schemes? I mean, is the blueprint very similar when you look at this year's game compared to last year's?
Well, I hope not. Okay, so, but I think we've got some different personnel in there. They've had some injuries that have created some different things that they've had to go through. We've had some injuries that we've had to deal with as well. So there's that part of it. As far as who they are in terms of what concepts they use, they do a great job in terms of keeping it fresh. A great job keeping it fresh. What you see this year is not necessarily what you'll see next year. And we need to do the same on our end, and we have tried to do the same on our end. The first game in 2012 was very low scoring. Then the championship game was rocked back and forth. And then last year was a high-scoring game. So we've had 3 different type of games, I think, play out there. We'll see what this one brings.
Mark, is it fair to say in recruiting that when you first got here, the idea of getting a guy with an Ohio State offer was kind of far-fetched, and now that's something that's attainable for you? Obviously, you have guys with Ohio State offers. And then also, just following up on that, how big is it when you play in a state that's so important for your recruiting?
I think the first question is, you've got to recruit players. You've got to recruit the best players. Usually the best teams are on the best players or have an opportunity to get them. So I think we put ourselves in the hunt for some of those players. And, I think recruiting is about so many different aspects, relationships and opportunity to play and, maybe relatives of some sort live here, there, wherever, those type of things. There's just so many different aspects of recruiting that creates, why a player goes to a particular school. As far as playing in that state, I think that speaks to the young player probably. I think that recruiting is pretty accelerated, so things have naturally sort of occurred. So winning and losing in a particular stadium, I don't know how much that has to do with it. I think that it's more about some of the other things, to be honest with you. But it's not going to hurt. Let's put it that way.
Elliott has 15 straight 100-yard games, and no one's been able to slow him down. How come no one has been able to even slow him down?
Well, they got a good offensive line. They've got other dynamic players that take pressure off of him, so you can't get one-dimensional just on him. They want to run the football, so they're going to feed the guy. And he's a great downhill runner, an extremely powerful runner, and probably one of the best tailbacks in the country. His numbers add up to that. And not just his numbers, but his blocking, his receiving. He's a very, very good football player. You could put him on the kickoff team. You could put him anywhere on any, probably at any position, any skill position, front seven type, linebacker. You could put him in a lot of different positions because he's a physical player. He brings the physicality to the running back position. No question.
Okay, I guess we don't have to worry about, like Nebraska fans being too nice, because they're not very nice there. They've rocked our news car when we've been there just trying to park. But I'm wondering if a hostile environment brings out the best in competitors.
I think you enjoy playing in packed houses away from home. So I think that's part of the college football experience. And you need to learn how to play well away, which we were one. You had to bring that up, but we were one game away from being perfect in that area this year. So we've got to play well away. I think we've been able to do that, and this is another example of an opportunity.
Kind of on that same note, no loss is a good loss, but can you say after 2 weeks since that Nebraska game that your team maybe refocused or was able to galvanize itself after having that happen?
Yeah, young people are resilient. I think that they're able to move on a little faster than coaches. The one thing about that particular loss that was a positive, it wasn't a loss within the division, and we play the people. We play Ohio State moving forward, and we won. I thought the Maryland game was a huge game for us because it put us in a situation where we would at least be in control of what's going on. We weren't going to have anybody else's help.
Mark, we talked a little bit about winning up front, and Malik is a guy who really didn't have a huge role in that game last year, but has really kind of proven to be a bit of a difference maker in the inside this year. Can he be that kind of guy in a game like this that flips things a little bit for you?
Yeah, Malik McDowell needs to be a difference maker in every game he's playing. He's to that level. Play right now. He played very well last game, and our front seven. We'll get Joe Heath will be back, so our front seven will be healthy, and that'll be a big aspect of the game. We've got to play well up there. And last year I thought that we did not win at the line of scrimmage, so we've got to be able to do that. And it goes back and forth, but when you look at the final day, and a lot of it was patience by J.T. Barrett, but great running ability. Some different things some different things where we got caught structurally, because there's always structural issues that go along with blocking and tackling and those type of things too. Trying to rob Peter to pay Paul type of things, with your coverage or whatever the case. So we've got to be able to play. I don't think there's any question about that. We've got to be able to play and play functionally and fundamentally well.
Mark, just kind of a follow-up to that. Last year's game, do you partly chalk that up to Barrett had a phenomenal game and their offense was clicking, or did you learn some things defensively that you will be able to use going forward?
I think you're always learning. There were some physical errors, some mental errors, and then some structural errors. I think that's the nature when you don't succeed, or in every game, whether you're successful or not. Things don't go perfectly. But we gave up some deep plays. We had an opportunity to go up 28-14 with 3 minutes to go in the half. We could call for a holding call. Takes us back. We missed the field goal. Next play, big play, 71-yard touchdown. We did not have any net for that young man, so he missed the tackle. But I think structurally we were hurt on that play. Prior to that is 3rd and 22. They throw the ball over our head on a perfect pass, perfect execution of Devin Smith. But I don't care. It's 3rd and 22. You can't get beat over the top. So got to make the play on that one. And then they hit us down the seam in cover one to go up 28-21. And, so we go 3 and out, and they get the ball back. And so it goes from 28-14 to 28-21 them in a matter of 3 minutes. And it was you walk in the locker room, it's sort of like what just happened. And I think that took the wind out of our sails a little bit, even though we tried not to. And then we got to make them punt. But credit them. I think their quarterback ran very effectively. I think he was very patient with his running. I think he's a very patient runner, and he's a physical runner. And so they made plays, but they made plays throughout. Even after our games, they continued to make plays throughout the season, and that's why they ended up national champions. But I do think some of the things could be prevented, but we got to make the play. That's easy to sit up here and say that, but you got to make plays. And then you got to give them a chance to make the plays, and you're not always going to be perfect on the calls you make. But you got to give them a chance to make the plays as well sometimes. Not that we didn't. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that it's a chess match. They got good coaches. They got great coaches. They got great players. I like to think that we have great coaches and great players as well, but you're not always going to guess right or anticipate correctly. You've got to make plays too. Got to respond. When adversity hits us, we've got to respond. Not yet.
When you think back to your time here as an assistant and then coordinating down in Ohio State, first of all, do you agree that there's been a relative equality to the rivalry that's grown? And secondly, Mark, how surprised are you that, frankly, that has happened?
Well, when I was here before, we had great games against Ohio State. When 98, we went down and won. But also, if you remember back in 99, they came here and we won. It was a big defensive game, and we won that football game. In 97, they blocked a punt, I believe, or something happened. They won going away, and back up here in it would have been 2008, I believe. They came up here and we had a good football team, and Pryor ran down the field, and I couldn't believe how fast he was. He just was going by me. But didn't play well in that game. But we both came into the game with big records. So we've had some big games with them, some games that were very anticipated games. People were excited about the opportunities and things that lay ahead. So we got to measure up. There's no question.
As a follow-up to that, we're so conditioned in this region to think Michigan, Ohio State, and for good reason.
Not really.
But seriously, in this region, whether you would agree with it or not, that's been the norm now for 46 years. Mm-hmm. Is there an equality here, which I guess you just answered?
In terms of us versus Ohio State?
Yeah,
in terms
of those
we're
two.
competing. We're competing every single week, and we look forward to every game on our schedule, and there's some very big games on our schedule, and we get ready for them. But I think when you go to the end of the year, next week's game is a very important game too, because it's the end of the year. So everything gets ramped up even more because these games have more meaning at the end of the year, as well as the OSU-Michigan game. They just have more meaning because it's the end of the year. There's more things that are, the win and the loss are determining factors in where you go, what bowl games you go. Do you win the East? Do you not? Those type of things get all entered into it. So, I think that's as big as anything. If we were playing the fifth game, we'd be past that and we'd be moving on to something else here. But this is our 11th game of the season, and this is it's all coming down the funnel.
Time for one more.
Nothing else? You got nothing for me? Okay.
Thanks,
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. See you.